Independent music, the triangle of musicians, fans, and music professionals. This is Tim from the Indie Bands blog, and welcome once again. Who's on today? Let's go find out. Hi, it's Tim here from the Indie Bands blog, and this is Indie Music Tips number 18 of the series, and I'm having a chat with David Codr of musicpage.com in the USA, and we're going to talk about music licensing. Hi, David.
Hey, Tim, how's it going?
Very well, and appreciate you giving me the time. It's been quite a long time and we've been trying to set this up. My fault, I'm afraid, but I'm glad that you've been able to reschedule those couple of times. People might have heard about David, but some people haven't. So tell us about yourself, David. What's your experience?
Sure. Well, I've been working in the music industry longer than 20 years. I started out as a concert promoter. I put out about 1,000 concerts, from, shows where there's a couple people to, a couple thousand. I've worked as an independent talent buyer. I've booked clubs. I've been a band manager. I've been a booking agent. I've done some publicity. I published a magazine called The Music Phone Book for 10 years, which was the premier music guide for people who work in the music industry. We list clubs to play out, contact numbers for record labels, promoters, and all that fun stuff. And then a couple of years ago, we transitioned because print is dying, and transitioned and pushed all of the database that we had accumulated over the 10 years of the Music Phone Book into an online format. We changed the name to musicpage.com. We like to tell people we're the social network for the people who work in the music industry.
Right.
Unlike Facebook and those other sites, we are built specifically for musicians and music industry pros. We list a lot of unlisted phone numbers and production information that isn't available, shouldn't be available for the public. So we try to keep away from fans, and our primary purpose is to connect musicians with music industry pros who are looking for music or musicians.
Which sits perfectly in the Indie Music Tip series. Licensing, that's a massive subject area. What do you mean by music licensing, David?
Well, music licensing is always been a place where musicians can make money, but it's really changed in the last, last 10 years. It's really gone through a lot of changes. It's really become more open and available to independent artists. For years, people go see a movie, and movies and television shows have changed as well, which has, I think, increased the quantity of opportunities that are out there. If you remember back in the day, it used to be more kind of orchestral, kind of arrangements in movies. And now you have contemporary songs, in movies and even TV shows and even commercials that are launching artists like Feist or Regina Spektor, or those artists who are, were having good success, but, they get in an Apple commercial or a really catchy commercial, and all of a sudden everybody's, it's funny to me because it used to be looked down upon. Real bands with real street cred would never license their music to use in a TV show or that was like kind of looked at as being a sellout. But I mean, let's face it. Artists are not selling as much product these days. They're not making as much money at the venues. It's harder. There's much more competition because there's so many more artists out there. So if you can get licensed, your music licensed in a movie or TV show and make $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And for a lot of artists, that covers your cost for the entire year.
Absolutely.
And so the benefit for studios is, it used to be they would only use major label artists. But you're paying a hell of a lot more money for major label artists. You have to pay, you're paying on the, the person who owns the publishing, and you're also paying the songwriter. And so for, if it's a well-established artist, they can kind of hold out and get a lot more money. So you're talking about, hundreds of thousands of dollars or more, where an independent artist might have a song that's amazingly talented, but just it hasn't popped yet. So the film or the commercial or TV show could license it for a couple $1,000s. The artist is usually really happy to get a couple $1,000s, and the studio is happy to save $90,000 or whatever it is. So it's a good trade-off for both parties, I think. And it's
sure. Now, obviously, a lot of people are aware of music licensing, which probably means that everybody's sending on spec an email to someone titled head of licensing at X, Y, and Z, which is probably not the right way to do it. Do you have any thoughts on the best way to actually make an impact and make an approach that's going to make some sense to the person that you're trying to impress?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of it is, you have to remember, and this is a difficult thing for a lot of artists to recognize, but these music supervisors, I mean, imagine if your job was a music supervisor. That's what they're typically called. And so your job is to put music in TV shows and movies. All your friends of friends, you know, the relatives, everybody you know knows some music. And so people are going to be recommending music, you know, left, right, and center. And of course, you have your own outlets to look, you know, to find music. I mean, they use services like, you know, Music Pages, Music Ops Board, and there are other services out there that allow artists to actually submit music for opportunities. And this is kind of a relatively new development. There's been a couple of services out there that were doing it, but with the internet has really changed things.
Sure.
And so if these are guys, I mean, if you think about it, if you're a music supervisor, if you listen to 100 songs, you're not going to probably listen to all the entire duration of all the songs. Some songs, they're just the wrong genre, the production quality. You know, there's so much music out there. I find from a lot of music supervisors I talk to, a lot of their job is really screening away the artists that don't fit what they're looking for. That's almost
right.
Their approach is, how can I disqualify this? And if they can't, then of course that becomes a song that they're going to consider. But just simply spamming someone or sending an email, I mean, I do a lot of artist development. So I teach artists a lot of things, how to build a fan base, how to build a relationship. I've found, and, you know, if you think about it from your own perspective, if you get an email and from somebody and you've never talked to this person, you never heard from them, and all of a sudden they're sending you an email and asking you to do something, the chances of them doing that is pretty low. So, you know, what I've found is I'll use the press as an example, is if I'm managing a band and we're playing in a particular market, or we're going to be playing, I'll find out who the entertainment writers are in that market, and I will start dialoguing with them. I'll start having conversations with them on a regular basis. I won't ever call a reporter for an interview unless I've called them 3 other times to not ask for an interview. I will build a mini relationship with them. And so you can use that same thing for talking to clubs or your fans or anybody's music supervisors included. So, you know, if you're going to try to, you know, you need to make yourself stand out because there are hundreds, if not thousands of artists these people are hearing from. So what you can do to make yourself stand out, you know, and there are a lot of unique ways you can send them kind of something in the mail. Most people get just stuff electronically. Sometimes it's hard to get those people's email addresses. So if you find out what they like to do, you know, maybe you can mention something if they're a sports fan. You can mention Manchester United or whoever the team is that they follow. You know, sometimes, you know, we'll get that person to pause and maybe give you a little bit more credence.
Is it better to approach when you know of an opportunity, or are you suggesting that you should make an approach and build a relationship to say, okay, this is what we do as a band, this is what we're about?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is most of the time you're not going to hear about the opportunities. It's very unusual for the artist to, because, I mean, if you think about it, movies, they get filmed first, then they go into, you know, then they start looking for music after they've already filmed things to, you know, find something that fits in. They might have an idea that I'm looking for a reggae song here or this, that, or the other thing. But usually this is way before it's released in the public, so it's really hard to get that information. That's where music supervisors come in. That's the world they live in. So, I mean, a lot of the times what I've found is it's getting your music in front of these music supervisors. The best way to do it seems to be the vehicles that are out there, these services that allow you to actually, you know, you can see what they're looking for. And so they can describe, hey, I'm looking for an aggressive metal song for a fight scene for an action-adventure film.
Yeah.
So then you kind of, you're submitting your music that's appropriate for what they're looking for. Now, a lot of composers, you know, have, even though they might be primarily a pop artist, they might have written a couple of, you know, country songs, a couple of rock songs, a couple of metal songs, a soul song, or whatever it is. What I've found is a lot of these music supervisors, if they find a song they like, usually that will cause them to go to your SoundCloud, go to your music page profile, wherever it is, salute, and look for some additional, you know, listen to the rest of your material, because usually a good songwriter is going to have multiple songs. So a lot of it is just really getting on their radar. Sending them an email, I mean, you can try that, but I mean, there's hundreds and if not thousands of music supervisors out there, and it's really hard to make yourself stand out in an email. So
Sure.
it's, I think that most artists have found more success, at least initially, if you're starting out without a lot of connections, to find a service that's going to allow you to see kind of a casting call or, a list of the different types of songs that are being requested and the different genres. And that way you can send your stuff to the appropriate people.
Okay. What about references? Thinking a little bit outside the box, as I spoke to you about before we started recording, a lot of the bands that I speak to are really brand new on the circuit. And I've on a couple of these indie music tip series, there's been conversations about connections. We've spoken about independent video producers, small computer games manufacturers, where they're not yet very well known, and it is easier to make a direct contact with someone because you can go to your local arts university or college or whatever it might be and find people that are trying to do something. Is it helpful to have a background and say, okay, this is my bit of music that appeared on this guy's video, or does it make absolutely no difference?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't make a difference, but I mean, the bottom line is, it's a very unique placement. If you watch a TV show or a movie, a lot of times if you use the right song, it can add a lot to the scene. It adds a lot of suspense or, a feeling of apprehension or whatever they're going for. So it can really benefit if it's done appropriately. But if you think about it, you might have a great song that's an amazing song. It just doesn't particularly work in that scene. It doesn't mean
Absolutely.
It's not a good song. So, it's kind of one of those things you want to make sure that you're submitting your music to the right opportunity so that at least you're in the same ballpark. And that'll get people listening to it. But I mean, I know a lot of these music supervisors, if they're looking for a country song and you send them a punk song, you could send them a punk song and they might be a punk fan and think it's the greatest song ever, but they're going to immediately disqualify it.
Of course.
Because it's not what they're looking for then.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of artists get themselves into trouble by thinking, well, it's a great song, I'll send it anyways, where that's not really going to work to your advantage. I would say a couple things that you need to look at is, first of all, are you a member of a performing rights organization? If you have your music licensed, then you get royalties if it's played multiple times. And a lot of that is not, that's what those performing rights organizations, one of the parts of what they do is look out to make sure that you're getting paid every time that happens. Because you might license it to a TV show that gets picked up in syndication and then gets played multiple times that you're not aware of. Now, if they've lost track of you, I mean, most of the time they're very proactive about it, but artists move around a lot. Sometimes they lose track of where you're at. You might have money waiting for you or money that you don't get ever collected because you're not a member of ASCAP, CSAC, or BMI. And that's in the U.S. There are different organizations for people who live abroad.
Yeah, I am. I haven't yet scheduled it, but I am trying to get someone from over in the UK. PRS is the one over here,
okay.
And I'm trying to get someone from PRS to come and have a conversation to talk about that, because again, that is perhaps one of the first things that bands forget to do that they should do first of all is to get their stuff licensed.
Absolutely. I do have a quick little tip. If you're an artist and you'd like to think about licensing your music, one of the things that most artists don't ever do is they just record it and then they send in their full song. Anytime you're recording, if you have any desire to license your music, always when you're doing your recording process, ask the producer to give you a music-only version of your recording. A lot of times, they might like your song, but your chorus might be competing with the dialogue that the character on screen is talking at the same time. So a lot of times, I mean, if you're familiar with the song, you might hear it in a movie or TV show and say, that's a little bit different. Well, they might basically have grabbed a section of music without the lyrics and inserted it where the chorus should normally go because it doesn't want to compete with the character on screen.
Yeah.
If you record and then later on you can go back to the guy in the studio and say, hey, man, I need it with music only. Well, they've got to go find the session. They've got to load back all the plugins and everything else. It can get really expensive to do. But during the recording process, if you just say, hey, I also need a copy, every song I need a music-only version, it's a snap. They can do it instantly. It's not going to cost you anything more. And then this time when you do apply for one, you can always mention, I have a music-only version of it. And
that's a really useful tip, David. I did speak to a music producer early on, and he was talking about it's easy to do things at certain stages and much more difficult at later stages.
Yep.
That's definitely one to add into the box of do remember to do that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your thoughts on music licensing, and we could go on for hours about it. And it'd be great to have you back at some other point to talk about maybe a little bit more about licensing or syndication or something else possibly. But what about musicpage.com? Tell people about that.
Well, I mean, basically, we're trying to be kind of a lot of different things. We want it to be almost a one-stop shop for artists. I mean, a lot of artists, they used to have something called a press kit. Now it's referred to as an EPK, which is a place where it has all your information for music pros. So if you want to play at a club or a music festival, or you want to attract the attention of a record label, it's kind of a one sheet that gives all your information. But really, nobody mails anything nowadays. So Music Page, our artist profiles are designed to serve as an electronic press kit. We include not only your music and your pictures and your biography, but we have links to your SoundCloud and your YouTube and your website. We also include one of the things that makes us unique is every profile on Music Page includes a phone number. And that is something that is very different than any other service out there, because in the music industry, these are people who work very fast. They don't have time to send you an email and wait to see if you respond. They want to call and either get a hold of you or leave a message or go on to the next artist. So
I can certainly concur with that. Although I'm only a reviewer of music, I do sometimes get emails and think, oh God, I've got a question to ask, but by the time I've asked it, I've got another 30 emails that have come in. Can I be bothered? Oh, I'll try. And then, of course, you get lost somewhere, and I've got to tie up 3 emails, and I think, oh, if only I could have called you, I could have sorted it.
Immediately, exactly. So that instant connection is a big part of the reason why we have close to 100,000 music pros that use us to scout new artists. And our profiles really let us do that. I mean, we include extra information like how many CDs you've released, how many CDs you sold, how many people come out and see you play, what are your sound requirements. These are things that for a music pro is very important. And that's one of the reasons why we keep fans away, because we have about 3,000 record labels that are members of ours that use us to scout artists. We don't want to have, kids calling up and asking to get Katy Perry's phone number so they can have her play their birthday party.
Yeah.
So we're really for serious musicians who are trying to do stuff. And one of the things, in terms of music licensing, to kind of circle this back around, is we've created something called the Music Ops Board, which is a place for our music pros to post an ad anytime they're looking for music. And it's not just music licensing. We have record labels that accept demos. We have music festivals that are looking for artists to perform, major label artists that are looking for local acts to open up for them on the road, contests and all sorts of fun stuff. So, for us, if you go to musicpage.com/MOB or Music Ops Board, that'll take you straight to the page, and it lists all the different jobs that we have. It tells you how much they pay. Maybe they're looking for a metal song and they're offering $10,000. If you have a profile with Music Page, you literally press a button, you select whatever song you want to send in, and then we give you a box so you can send your own personal message to that person. Hey, I think this song would be great. The lyrics reference this, that, or the other thing. They get sent an email and they go to your profile. They listen to your music. They read your biography. If it matches what they're looking for, they reach out to you and ask you to send them a copy to play against the screen and see if it syncs up right. And
sure.
The thing that we do, it's a lot different. A lot of these services, what they'll do is they make you pay every time that you send in your music. So it might be $10, $20, $50 in the U.S. every time you send in your music. That gets really expensive. And then if you get selected, let's say they're licensing a song for $10,000, they might want to take 50% of that, the service.
Yeah.
So we just think, that doing it that way is really, you're really penalizing the artists who are people who don't have a lot of money. So for us, what we do is we actually have a membership plan. So for us, it's either $14.99 a month or $19.99 a month. That allows you to apply to a certain number of music ops for that same price. And it gives, and then if you get selected, we don't take a percentage. And we're the only service that I know of that doesn't do that. And we leave a lot of money on the table that way. But, if we connect an artist, they're the ones that wrote the song. We just helped connect them with the music pros offering that. So we have a great reputation with our members because we take such good care of our artists, and that's how we find other artists. We don't do a lot of advertising. We try to fly below the radar. For us, it's referrals. An artist gets the music placed on ESPN or a television show or commercial. They tell their other mates that are in other bands, and they come to us, and that's been a real successful formula for us. But again, we're really built to help musicians. So if there's any musicians listening, we'd certainly like to invite them to set up a profile on Music Page. We have a 2-profile setup, so you have to set up a personal profile first. Then you can create one for your band or if you're a solo performer. And that's the other way that we keep out the riffraff and make sure that all of our profiles are legitimate. We'll put a face with a name. Like during South by Southwest or big conferences like that, we'll have thousands and thousands of music pros that come to us because they want to see what's the name of the guitar player for the band, what's the name of the drummer. So they can go to the drummer, they see his picture, and they're like, "Hey, George." We're like, "How the hell did you know who I am?" It makes them look like they're doing research, and that's, people like that. So. One other little tip is that you mentioned that you have a lot of tips. We have a blog. We haven't updated in a little while, but I've got a lot of great tips on how you can get bartenders to hand out your flyers for you for free, how to generate more fans on your fan base, how to do all sorts of different things. It's on our blog, which is musicpageblog.tumblr.com. It's completely free. And there's a lot of articles there that might give you some free tips on different ways to promote your shows that are going to be free, but also very effective, and help you get more people on your fan base, help you get more people to your shows, help you get more people to buy your CDs and your merchandise. And let's face it, if you're a band, having more money is never a problem.
No, that's not a bad thing. I'll make sure that I put all of those links at the bottom of this on the article. The other question I wanted to ask,
sure.
You cover this marketplace. Whereabouts do bands need to be based to be able to make use of musicpage.com?
We're open to bands and artists from all over the world, and it doesn't even have to be bands or artists. We have a lot of composers and songwriters that don't actually perform themselves but write songs that create profiles with us. And of course, if they're music pros. But yeah, if you work in the industry, now we'll make you, again, to try to keep away the fans, you have to list a music industry skill. It could be playing an instrument, and you have to list a music industry job, and that could be playing in your band. But those two things are another way that we help filter out the fans and keep them going to Facebook and MySpace and the rest of the places. But yeah, setting up a profile on Music Page is completely free, and as long as you're a musician or music pro, we certainly welcome you in, and we'll help you. We have a team of artist relations reps. After you set up your profile, you'll get either a phone call or an email from them, and we want to get to know you. How long have you been performing? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you a member of a performance right organization? We have a lot of music pros that'll call us before they even post on the Music Ops board sometimes. I'm just looking for a song that would be great for this, or I need an artist to open up in this market. We want to have somebody here in our office that's familiar with every artist. So for us, I think that it's a no-brainer. I mean, you go to these other sites and they don't care. If you have an email address, you can sign up, and they don't really care. For us, we care who's a part of our community. We have some artists that have a really bad attitude. We weed those guys out because, the music industry is tough enough. We don't need people who are going to be making it more artists who want to be helped and are looking for work. If that's the case, setting up a profile on Music Page will promote you automatically to we've got 100,000 Music Pro members. And so part of what we do is automatically start promoting our artists to promoters, managers, agents, producers, talent buyers, radio stations, all these different people who work in the music industry who are looking for artists, and they come to us. Like I said, we're exclusively for artists. We provide a lot of industry information plus contact numbers, and so no other site really does that, and so that's one of the reasons why we have so many music pros that use us to find new artists in music.
Well, thanks for that, David. I'm glad that we managed to finally chat. 2011 we first exchanged emails. I do get there in the end. Sometimes it can just take a bit of a time.
Absolutely. Well, hey, that's the thing. I mean, the music industry is, it's a little interesting fact. Most people don't realize most major label artists have been together for 6 years before they get signed. So, it's one of those things where you have to bide your time and you have to be patient. So, we live in a very instant gratification culture, nowadays. But the music industry, it's going to be I kind of like to look at it more as a marathon than a sprint, and a lot of artists have more of a sprint mentality.
You've got 20 years behind you, and you're still going strong. So I think you're a testament to that. And hope you can come back at some other stage and give some more thoughts and tips on other areas of the industry. And I appreciate your time. Thanks very much, David.
I'd love to. I appreciate you having me. It's I think what you do is a great service for artists. I mean, there really aren't a lot of resources out there that are legitimate, that give artists, especially, up and coming, artists who might not be super experienced, some honest information. And, there's not a lot of schools you can go to for this. So, I mean, artists are really, it's incumbent upon themselves to educate themselves. I think it's, podcasts like this that really do a great service for those guys. So thanks for what you do, and thanks for, inviting me to be a part of it.
My pleasure. Speak again soon.
Thanks a bunch, brother. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
Yep. Bye. Finishing with Nowhere to Go by the William Street Strikers, which is the introductory track to the Indie Music Tip series.